Hello everybody, Carl Keister here with ClearSurf Financial Education. Welcome back. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're aware when these videos are coming out. And I am going to do a second stimulus update now. It's been 2 months, and interesting enough, not a whole lot's changed as far as knowing when it's going to go out. Unfortunately, the chances are getting slimmer by the day, in my opinion, and that is because Christmas break is going to be upon us here pretty soon, and both sides still have not been able to agree on how much money is needed to keep the economy afloat. So interesting enough, last weekend, President Donald Trump said that he was okay with up to $2,000 checks being sent out or cashed to Americans to help them get through this pandemic. Now, you remember back in March, as part of the CARES Act, it was $2.2 trillion. $1,200 checks went out to most Americans if you made less than $100,000. And that was a way to keep things going when they were shutting down the entire economy and no one could go out. Now, both parties back then, prior to the election, the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi wanted $2.2 trillion, and Donald Trump and the White House wanted 1.6, a plan closer to 1.6 trillion. So nothing got done because I think both sides thought they could hurt the other towards the election. Nothing got done. The only thing that was hurt there was the people that don't have jobs or benefits are running out. So now the election's over and the parties are discussing plans. I've seen a $108 billion plan and a $116 billion plan, but they differ on the contents, of course. So just ironic how now it's less than half of what they were interested in. Now that the election's over, it seems to be okay to deal with a lower amount for the American people to get by on. So Secretary of Treasury Steve Mnuchin, he had mentioned a plan that was $916 billion. It would provide $600 checks going out to individuals and would also help with unemployment aid, but not to the level that the Democrats wanted. So the Democratic plan was a bipartisan plan, but the Democrats were looking at a $908 billion plan, but it was focusing more on jobless workers. So you've got these two going back and forth about how much should go towards jobless workers and how much should go to individuals that are lower or middle income. And also, there's some other sticky points there. I need you to stick around towards the end because we're going to discuss in more detail, and that is well, I'm going to save it to the end. So anyway, I wanted to bring up a plan recently that Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont, and actually some Republicans have a support on sending out checks, $1,200 to low and middle income, and additionally $500 per child. So very, very similar to what they did in March. But again, this would be closer to a $2 trillion package. And I've mentioned many times in the videos, we're already at 27 trillion. Matter of fact, I looked today before I started this research, and we're almost at 27.5. So almost another $500 billion since 2 months ago when I did this video and this research. So that's kind of scary. But getting back to the question at hand, are they going to come to some kind of resolution before Christmas break? Because I think it'd be pretty difficult for these politicians to go home for Christmas break while other people out there know that their unemployment benefits are going to expire on December 31st. So they're looking at 2 weeks of benefits left. The last check is going to go out December 26th. While they're going home collecting their government salary, and while you've got individuals and business owners who are trying to figure out how to keep the lights on for another month. So I don't know where this is going to end up, but it definitely does feel like a ticking time bomb for quite a few people out there when you've got 12 million people whose unemployment benefits are set to expire at the end of the year, which means the last check is on the 26th. And, so you talk to those people, and some of those people interviewed say, $600 one-time check or $1,200 one-time check is great. That might put some groceries in the refrigerator and that may keep the lights on for another month or two, but that's probably it for most people. I've read some from surveys here recently that says that the average person who is behind on rent is $6,000 behind on rent or mortgages. So, these talk of $600 to $1,200 really isn't going to get us back to where we need to be. Now, I will say that today or actually yesterday, Sunday, vaccines are starting to ship. So they're going to go out and they're going to be the frontline workers at first, and then people in nursing homes. So it's probably going to be until next year. You're probably talking spring or summer of next year until there's enough vaccines across the country that will allow people to feel like going back to restaurants and going back to gyms and movie theaters and things that people have stopped doing. I just don't know how many restaurants. I've listened to a number of restaurant owners on Facebook and other places that have talked about how hard it's been because these states like Pennsylvania and New York, they're ordering food and days later being told to shut down. Well, they've got thousands of dollars in food that they just purchased, and now they're being told to close their doors and they can't serve people or serve the food. So I feel really bad for those people in the restaurant industry, in particular those restaurant owners who have their entire, not only their income, but their life savings and usually net worth in these restaurants and employing a lot of people in the process. So I don't know where that's going to go, but it does really frustrate people. And when you see that Congress is deadlocked over what to include, the Republicans don't want a lot of state and local funding in there because they don't feel as though they should be bailing out local governments. But yet, then on the other side, the Republicans are saying they want COVID-19 liability protections. That's something that the Senator, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had mentioned, and that is that he wants some kind of protections so that when people go back to work in hospitals or schools or just to their job, that they can't be sued for not protecting their employees. Because let's face it, if we don't get kids back in school and people can't go back to work and we don't start going to restaurants, this is just going to keep snowballing. It's going to be like we're sitting in quicksand basically, and not a whole lot's going to get better until we get the vaccine distributed, but not everyone's going to take the vaccine. So the politicians are basically just going to go around and around here, taking their time. And there's other incentives too, I believe. I believe that maybe the Republicans are dragging their feet because they want this major, whatever this bill is going to be, whether it be $900 billion or $2 trillion, they want it next year because they want to pin that debt onto the Democrats and saying, okay, you guys wanted this to go through, so now we're going to push it towards, basically try to push it towards $30 trillion in debt. And you're going to have those midterm elections in 2022, so everyone's already looking ahead to 2022. And so the Democrats are thinking, well, maybe we should get it done now and put it on Trump. Republicans are saying, let's wait till next year. We can blame the Democrats for this. So it really does, it's kind of pathetic at this point in time to watch these politicians who really have their own best interest in mind. It just seems like time and time again, I'm not a political channel. I'm trying not to be political in my opinions, but it really does seem childish how they are just constantly looking out for themselves and not really looking out for people they were elected by. And why people keep electing them, I don't know. I'm a big fan of term limits. I think if that would ever show up on a ballot, it would be hands down pushed through, but we know that the politicians are never going to allow that to go into a ballot because it would pass, and these senators and House Representative people would be done just like presidents are done. 8 years and done. 2 terms, you're out. Should be the same way for other politicians. It really is sad. But anyway, that's my little bit of a tangent. I'm going to get back to what I was talking about, and that is, meanwhile, we've got millions of Americans who are struggling, and in the latest survey, they show that people that are affected by the pandemic, who have lost jobs or hours, 80% are worried about paying their bills. They don't know where the rent or the mortgage check is going to come from. And so that's pretty sad. I mentioned $6,000 behind in back rent and mortgages, $27.5 trillion in debt, and population of 330 million people. I looked earlier today, interesting enough, it's less than 150 million people in the workforce though. So I mentioned before about 330 million people are on the hook for all this debt, but there's only less than 150 million people in the workforce who are paying taxes to try to get this down. So where this ends, I don't know. I just want to bring you an update. I'm skeptical that something's going to get done by the end of the year. But if it does, whether it's a $600 check or a $1,200 check, or it's going to be some kind of provisions in there, I don't know. But hopefully they can kind of act like grown-ups for once and get something done for the people before year end. So with that being said, I'll keep my eye on it. I'll let you know. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, I have a course that I've created. There's links over to the side where I go through helping people that want help with budgeting, saving money on taxes, investing, risk management, estate planning, you name it. Very affordable plan and or very affordable course, I should say. And those links are off to the side. So until next time, we'll keep an eye on these politicians and hopefully they do the right thing. But until then, stay invested, stay focused, and we'll see you next time.